So, imagine this. You're 27 years old. You've busted your butt to build a career from the ground up. And then bam, one phone call from your little sister threatens to just torch everything you've worked for. That is exactly what happened to a woman named Elizabeth. And her story? Wow. It is a masterclass in how to draw a line in the sand. Let's get right into it. So this is the text that started the firestorm. And notice, it's not, "Can I have?" or "Could you help?" No, it's, "I need $10,000 for prom." A straight-up demand from her 18-year-old sister Mallory. And she had the whole thing budgeted out, a $3,000 dress, a limo, some insane after-party. For Mallory, this was totally reasonable. But for Elizabeth, it was just absurd.
See, here's the thing. Elizabeth was a project manager at a big construction company, Cloudfin. She started as an admin assistant and worked her way up to handling these huge multi-million-dollar projects. And she was, rightly proud of the life she'd built. But to her family, all that success didn't really mean she was a skilled professional. Nah, it just made her the one with money.
And this is really where the whole problem starts. You've got this massive disconnect. On one hand, Elizabeth sees herself as this hardworking, independent person carving her own path. But on the other hand, her family just sees a walking, talking safety net. She wasn't a daughter or a sister, she was an obligation. And that huge difference in perspective, that's the ticking time bomb for this whole story. So when Elizabeth told her sister a very firm no, things went from 0 to 100, like real fast. 20 minutes later, her dad's on the phone, hitting her with that classic guilt trip. Family helps family. He called her selfish, said she was forgetting where she came from. This wasn't a conversation, not even close. It was the beginning of an all-out family pressure campaign.
And you have to understand, this crazy prom demand wasn't just some random one-time thing. Oh no, it was the peak of a mountain that had been building for years. She'd been their personal emergency fund, paying the mortgage, fixing the car, funding a lavish European school trip. All of it was framed as loans that, shocker, were never, ever going to be paid back.
So Elizabeth finally sits down and does the math, and the number she comes up with is just staggering. Over $73,000. She had poured a small fortune into this joint family bank account, an account where she was the only one ever making deposits. After a few days of just ignoring their calls, the pressure reached its peak. Her father sent this message to the family group chat, an ultimatum, clear as day. Transfer the money or you're out of the family. The whole family helps family thing was totally out the window. This wasn't about love or support anymore. This was a transaction. And that threat? That was it. That was the breaking point. It was this moment of just, shocking clarity for Elizabeth. They didn't see a daughter. They didn't see a sister. They saw an ATM. And the worst part of it all? She realized she had been enabling this whole toxic mess for years. She had taught them that her money was their money.
So this is the question that must have been running through her head, right? I mean, think about it. In their eyes, she was already the bad guy, the selfish villain. They had already threatened to kick her out of the family. So from where she was standing, she had absolutely nothing left to lose by finally taking action.
And her response was just so simple, so clean, and unbelievably powerful. She just opened her banking app. In a few taps, she transferred every single cent of her money into her own personal savings account. And then she closed that joint account for good. A problem that had been building for 5 years was solved in less than 2 minutes.
The fallout was, it was immediate, and it was nuclear. The second those bank notifications hit their phones, account balance is 0. Account has been closed. Their entire world just got turned upside down. The free money train had officially left the station for good, and they lost it.
Her phone just absolutely blew up. A complete barrage of panicked, furious texts and calls. They called her out of control, selfish, and a whole lot worse. I mean, the sheer venom in these messages just lays it all out there, doesn't it? It shows you exactly how entitled they had become to the money she worked so hard for.
And then, just when you think it can't get any worse, a call comes in from an unknown number, and it delivered the final gut-wrenching piece of this puzzle. It was Mallory's best friend, Kelsey. Apparently, she'd overheard Mallory bragging to their friends, saying this exact thing. It wasn't just entitlement. This was a calculated, deliberate, long-term plan. Hearing that just solidified everything. It erased any tiny little shred of guilt that might have been lingering and proved she had made the only decision possible. And this moment, right here, this was the start of some very real consequences for them and a whole new chapter of freedom for her.
So what happened next? Well, their lives basically went in two completely different directions. While her family was scrambling, facing foreclosure on their house, having to downsize to a tiny apartment, Elizabeth was just thriving. She got promoted at work, she started seriously investing, she was traveling, dating, and finding this sense of peace she didn't even know she was missing.
About 6 months later, an email shows up in her inbox. It was from her mom, and it was a full apology. She finally admitted that they'd taken advantage of her, that they had used her for her money. It wasn't a beg to get back in her life, just an acknowledgement of the truth. And for Elizabeth, it brought this surprising sense of closure.
Looking back on the whole insane ordeal, Elizabeth realized that her most powerful move wasn't some big, dramatic revenge plot. Nope, it was that quiet, 2-minute decision on her phone to finally choose her own well-being over their bottomless demands.
And honestly, that's the biggest takeaway here. The real power wasn't in some big screaming match or a fiery confrontation. It was in the simple, quiet act of logging into a banking app, drawing a hard line in the sand, and taking back the life she had fought so hard to build for herself.
So it kind of leaves you with this final thought, right? When you're stuck between what you feel you owe your family and what you need to do to preserve yourself, where do you draw that line? For Elizabeth, the answer became crystal clear. Sometimes choosing yourself isn't selfish in the slightest. It's necessary for survival.